listeners that don't know about your background, could you tell us a little bit about your background and
how you got to this?
How you got to this, and what are your responsibilities?
So I've been director of the Liquor and Cannabis Board for 5 years, but I've been in the agency for 20.
Okay.
I actually came from the legislature. Right out of college, I got a job working for the state Senate as a policy research analyst.
Okay.
I worked in the Senate for 5 years. I worked in the House for 8 years and was also in leadership in the House. And then after 13 years, saw an opportunity to do something different.
Yeah.
And I came to the Liquor Control Board at the time as a legislative liaison. I served as a policy director. I served as a deputy director for 8 years and then became director 5 years ago. So really, I spent little over 20 years here and have enjoyed it. But so many changes have been here. When you think about in 2011, we were privatized by Costco. Remember, the state used to.
Question: When did privatization kick in on alcohol?
Well, it was 2011, and then the next year,
Cannabis.
what do the voters do? They decide, well, we don't want the state selling spirits, but we do want them regulating cannabis. So, I think it's been a fascinating ride for the last 5 years. Lots of challenges, just the fact that federal prohibition is there makes it so problematic, and I think difficult for the businesses.
Yeah.
The whole issue of having a traceability system where it has to be from seed to sale, that whole supply chain has to be strictly regulated with cameras and security.
Yep.
The fact that you even have to have a traceability system, because typically someday when this thing is opened up and then the feds remove the prohibition, there won't be a need for one. In other words, if I'm a producer of cannabis, I'll be like a winemaker. You know what winemakers have to do for the state? They do it here at the cannabis boards. Once a month they report their production. Once a month they pay their taxes for what they sell.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. There isn't a need to have a traceability system that shows that from the day you planted that seed to when that product was sold.
I need to ask, I want to ask a little bit about security, though. When you talked about that, because given that the nature of this is very expensive and untraceable product, if you will, the cash is right there. People are dealing in cash, and they're dealing and they're transferring cash among themselves. So if I'm a grower and I've got 400 pounds of product and I'm going to deliver it, that person has to have their own delivery mechanism built into them.
And manifest and know who the drivers are. The vehicles have to be registered. Yeah.
Exactly. And then they take it to, or if they're not a processor and a different processor is doing it, that processor is doing it the same thing as well.
Correct.
And then that transfers the cash and so forth. So I see a security risk in a big way, because now you're creating each of the different tiers have to have their own on-staff security and so forth. It leaves out the opportunity to use a Wells Fargo, if you will, from a transferring cash, transferring product, because if someone gets hit, they have an untraceable product with untraceable cash, and that's a problem.
Well, there are some businesses that use the money couriers to transport money.
Well, I didn't know that we could, because I saw in the law that it was written specifically that those people had to be employed by. Or has that changed? Because
no, I'm talking about money as opposed to the product.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
talking
right.
about the product.
You're talking about the product.
The product actually has
That's
to
correct.
be employed.
That's right.
And
there's a transport license. Not many people are using it. It's almost like a distributor license, but it isn't being used very much. Most people are using their trucks, their employees to transport product.
Okay, now is that new or
no, that's always been there in place. They put the transport license afterward, thinking that might be something that would be viable. But it hasn't been used very much. Most of the time mostly because they already established their trucks and their personnel to be able to take product out.